Welcome to the Runner Radio Podcast. My name's Trina, and my guests today are two hosts from another podcast, Rico, Richard, and Eric from the Rico Podcast. Welcome.
Thank you very much for having me.
I know I should have an applause button here and get everything set up.
Screaming. I want to hear people screaming like mosh.
Yeah,
So-
there's
So-
an app for
It's an app. I want that.
This is actually my second podcast in a row speaking to other podcasters, and I think it's really cool to kind of have us all come and support one another and talk about why we do podcasting. What's the reason you guys do podcasting?
The women, the money, the power that comes with it. We have so much power.
Oh yeah.
We get treated like a common criminal whenever we go places.
Yeah, exactly.
Wah,
It's
wah.
amazing.
If you know these guys, you know that's not true. So tell us really why you decided.
She's like, I gotta address this. No. We actually, one of the reasons why we started the podcast. Well, first of all, thank you for having us.
Yes.
It's not very common that people want to have both of us. So it's nice when me and Eric sit down and be together. No, that's not even joking. A lot of times they want either
Really?
one of us.
Aw.
Yeah, because
Yeah.
it can be.
We're too intense.
Yeah, it can be. We can take
Terrible.
over the conversation very easily. So thank you for doing this. It's fun, but I think the real reason why we started was it was Mr. Farley, right? Kevin
No,
Farley
he
had
was
told
he
us.
was one of the reasons.
He was one of the he was like the last nail on the coffin, I
Yeah.
would say.
Yeah.
We did a show with Kevin Farley and we spent hours smoking cigars with him after the show. And we were just talking to him just for like 3 hours, I think. We sat outside in between shows.
Yeah, because
Uh,
he was doing two shows.
Yeah, we did 2 shows that night. And then in between and even after, we drove him around a little bit. And he was like, you guys should do a podcast. And I was like, oh man, we've been thinking about it. And he like looks at us, he goes, no, like you should. Like you guys ask interesting questions. So like after that, it was just a matter of trying to learn like a little bit of like what you need to do. And like once we realized that all you had to do was put work, like the rest was history. We're almost 200 episodes in. So
Yeah.
I mean,
We realized you had to work at it.
yeah.
Yeah,
And the power that comes with it and the women.
now that
I'm
is
telling
quite an accomplishment. And I do believe anybody can do anything they set their mind to, but it's not just as easy as a lot of people want to believe. Oh, I'm going to start a podcast. It's talk about some of the work that's involved that people don't realize.
Well, a lot of people don't understand. There's a lot of things that happen like behind the scenes. Like there's a lot of reading, there's a lot of finding things about the guests. Then once you start,
that's just part of it because we were doing a laptop that Fred Flintstone used to have, and that made things very difficult
in the
because
beginning.
in the beginning, we were doing it in Richard's living, on a folding table, a folding card
Yeah.
table.
Yeah.
And
we
we
retired.
set it up and to make it look like we weren't poor. And
Yeah. We retired that table too. We gave it
And the
full
laptop.
military honors. Yeah,
So-
we even gave it a pension, better than they treat most veterans.
Really?
I know.
Wow.
yeah,
Yeah. It's
done it.
working in the back of my house as a folding table for laundry. So we promoted it, gave it a part-time job here.
Promotion. Nice. That's
Yeah.
pretty.
And
you
it's
know.
still useful. Still useful.
But no, there's a lot of the other thing is also is networking. A lot of people don't
Yeah.
understand that they think that after like 50, 100, 200, episodes, things will happen. Like sometimes it will if you have good connections and you have like a good network.
Mhm.
But I think a lot of times what people underestimate what they can do in 5 years. And I think they overestimate what they can do in a year.
Mhm.
Something like that. It's like, so for us, it was just like, well, we have a lot of friends who are comics and I have a lot of friends who work in like different fields. And like Eric has like a really, really good military background. And it was like one of those things that I was like, oh, this makes sense.
Mhm.
So we just like gave it a shot. And here we are almost 2 years and a couple months later.
Still going. And it
Yep.
does take a lot of work, but like many of us, we're also doing other things. This is not all usually, unless hopefully we get to that point where that's all we have to do. But you guys are writing jokes, doing the stage. Talk about that too, because that takes a lot of creative juices too.
I think
Yeah,
that's
yeah,
more of a
it's-
question for Eric, because Eric's been doing comedy longer than me, and he's most definitely more creative than me. So like for me, I do comedy just so I can vent out frustrating thoughts that I have. That's what
Okay.
comedy is.
Yeah. Well, he's only saying all that because it's true. So
Otherwise, you would literally explode and people would have to scrape your remains.
No, I would know. I would just go do more jujitsu. Like
Yeah.
that's
Oh,
what I
okay.
used.
That's your
I would
outlet.
just I would just do 8 hours of jujitsu and not
yeah,
write.
it's weird because
Okay.
he'll rear naked choke it and go knock knock. So it was horrible. It was horrible.
So I'll be running and yelling, "Who's going to carry the boat?" And for all of you that don't get that, go watch Rico's episode where I was a guest. We'll have Rico's over there doing jujitsu, and you're on the stage, or what? How are you dealing then? Was your comedy a way to deal with stress too, or how did it become for you?
Well,
Oh, that was so
originally I just I live out in the middle of nowhere, so I can shoot my gun with no neighbor saying anything is too loud or anything like. And if they do come over, I have my gun with me. So
The image.
Missouri.
But
He does this while he's only wearing a hoodie and he has
I-
a beer in it too. Like no joke. This is a true story.
sadly,
it's
bare
not-
legs were what I pictured with the gun. But anyway, I digress. Please finish.
Well, I have the holster placed appropriately, so I'm just saying.
It's true. In case kids come, you never know.
Yeah, I don't know, but no, I got in. I was very naive when I first started because I thought all you had to do was be funny.
But you were not.
Well, I was going to say, how did you know you were funny? I mean, everybody kind of thinks they're funny sometimes, but
You know, enough trauma makes you funny.
That's
oh, that's kind of sadly true. I mean,
We know.
It is.
I
Yes,
mean,
true. But
You have enough trauma. You're just gonna become
But
funny.
when I started out, I was terrible because I didn't understand the mechanisms of comedy.
okay.
I heard stuff that was funny and I knew which comics I liked, but I didn't really understand how you got there. And so it took a while for me to figure out how a joke is actually made.
It's kind of like marriage.
You mean arranged marriages? You have
Just
to figure it out.
hateful.
You
Just no. Arranged marriages work. I mean, statistically,
statistically, I'm
Yeah.
just saying. You
not
have
like
to work-
comedy.
it's arranged, you
Statistically,
have
the
to
joke
work
is
it
gonna
out.
fail 90% of the time.
Do you
That's
mean
true.
trial and error? Is that where you were getting at with the marriage with the joke connection? Trial and error?
He's terribly hilarious. 'cause
It's
I
not.
picked up on it.
It's not so much trial and error. I would say a lot of the times is comedy. A lot of the times is there's a lot of things involved in comedy, and one of the things like everybody has their own opinion on. Like Eric is the type of person he wants to write a joke and get a laugh,
Okay.
and he's very good at that. Like he's very freaking good at that. I, on the other hand, I'm trying to like say something, like I'm trying to like connect the story together, which is
Okay.
really hard to do, and that's why I suck. But like at some point you start realizing that like the thing that everybody knows is funny, like sometimes is the most obvious thing isn't really it. Sometimes you
Mhm.
just have to deeper than that. So like Eric's really good at like digging that hole and like figuring out like, oh, I'm gonna stay in this pocket. And it's hard. It's hard because it's a lot of trial and error. And
Mhm.
like that's why you see comedians that are in New York and LA because they have the most opportunities per day.
Mm-hmm.
So in like St. Louis is like that. The St.
Yeah,
Louis scene
they
is
have a lot of
they have a
comedy
lot
clubs,
of
open
they have a
mics.
lot of clubs and mics, you know, because there's a difference between going to do a club mic and then going to do a mic somewhere else.
Mhm.
So there's a lot of mics that you can do. So it's like they have a lot of stage time and opportunity. Springfield is slowly catching up, I think. Eventually we'll get there to where it's like, oh, you can do 4 sets in one night.
Yeah,
Yeah.
So you can practice like a new 5-minute bit that you're doing
on
where
a
you-
different audience.
on a
too.
different audience too. So that's the other thing is that one of the things that we do fairly well is we kind of figure out like the audience because over time that happens, and that's just smart marketing. I believe because like you have to know who your audience is. If you don't know who your audience is, then you have no idea what you're doing.
Or worse yet, you have like Springfield's a college town, so if you have a bunch of college kids in there, you may have to redo your whole set.
Yeah, Like a college kid isn't gonna identify with how crappy it is to pay child support or why it's crappy.
Or
Yeah.
Mortgage or a mortgage payment
living on your own.
or living on your own or being homeless in a car. Like they're not gonna find that. Most college kids, they're just not. They just haven't lived enough to like understand it, and that's just a
Have
reality.
you had to change your set on the fly like that?
Yeah.
Yeah.
You've seen
Yeah.
if you were at the 1MC, I did like 3 minutes of jokes at a 1MC event, and they were like, because it's a private event, you know,
Yeah.
one of the advice he gave me was just change like your dirty punchlines to something PG, right?
Mhm.
Mhm.
So that's what I did, and like, you know, it works. Like I'm sure he has stories where he's had to change.
Well,
Instead of saying this, I have to say this. That has the same effect, I would guess,
Well,
right?
the best example I think is we did a mic, and then somebody invited us another mic, and it was East St. Louis, and we got there and they sold chicken and waffles, and the MC was promoting it.
Let's
and
just
he
say that
thought-
I was
he
the whitest
thought
person
he,
there.
He was, yeah. They thought there was 3 of us there, and they thought all 3 of us were white, and
They were very incorrect when he pointed at me. So when
Yeah.
I got up there, I
so
just
we
started
had to
laying on him.
change. So we had to change.
Yeah, we had to change a lot
a lot
because it's like
from that mic,
culturally
just from
yeah.
that mic to
Yeah.
that mic.
Yeah.
We had
Yeah.
to change because it was a totally different audience.
It's interesting too because a lot of times there's like certain things culturally in certain spots that
Mhm.
culturally you're not gonna get them, right?
Yeah.
Like if I'm making fun of a chain of restaurants, right? But they don't have that chain of restaurants in your hometown,
Mhm.
then I have to go out and say, okay, what's the chain here? Oh, it has the same issue that this one
Yeah.
has, so I can just joke this. So like that's something that you'll see a lot.
Yeah.
And
But-
comics do that all the time.
Like about how many jokes do you have to have for like say a 20-minute set? I mean, I've got to imagine I bet you probably rehearse like someone giving a speech to any kind of large audience. You've probably got to get that
If not-
timing down, that more. Tell me about that.
20 minutes. I'll let you take that one because I only have like a 15-minute set.
Well, about 20 minutes. If you get what is the standard? I think
It's
laugh
minimum 4 laughs per minute.
4 laughs per minute. So 20 minutes. That's 20 times 4. So that would be how many jokes?
80 laughs, I think.
Yeah. So
20,
typically that'd be
yeah.
about how many jokes you would have. But sometimes a joke, it's not just one joke. It's just a joke has many punchlines. So you have to factor that in there. And if you only have 20 minutes, you also have to factor in the laugh.
You have to let people laugh things out. Like a lot of times that was something that I ran into for the longest time, where I would say something and people would start laughing, and then you would see it because we record and we
Mhm.
audio our sets, and you're like, see, listen, like you're stepping over the laugh. So people
Mhm.
are confused. And now when someone's confused, they don't know where to laugh. Like it's little things like that.
Mhm.
The other thing that can happen too is people sometimes laugh at like things that you don't expect to happen.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
Sometimes you'll say a part of the joke and people will laugh early and you're just like, the fudge? Like what?
Yeah. Why was that funny? Yeah.
Yeah.
Wait,
You have to,
I've had a lot of independent self-published authors, writers on here. I want to know what your writing process is like. Do you do other writing to practice writing jokes, or do you pretty much just put everything into the jokes, keep a journal? Do you clack it out on a screen, keep notes on your phone, all of the above? What's that like?
you want to take that and then I'll answer.
well,
Because we have different ways.
well, I do it old school because I like to write it down,
Yeah.
pen and paper or a pencil, and it's you write that down and you get your premise of your joke down. But I find out what helps out is try to keep up with the news, but also read to increase my vocabulary and broaden my.
That was very good. I know that was a hard word.
It was.
You practice.
I did in the mirror.
Good job.
Very good. Were you a funny kid in school, or were you very quiet?
I was funny looking. I
No,
mean,
I was very quiet. I didn't.
yeah.
Really?
I didn't like anybody.
That's how I am as an adult now. I have a different. I mean, I try to make jokes based upon things that happen to me.
Mm.
So like what I'll do
Okay.
is I write every day, but about 90% of what I'm writing out on that paper is garbage because I'm
Yeah.
just trying to get thoughts out that I think are funny that are so obvious that it's like that's obvious. So then once I start getting frustrated and I cry for about 20 minutes and then go chug a beer.
Only 20 minutes?
Only 20.
Okay.
It's gotten better. And then I take a cold shower, I carry the boats, and then after that I come back and then I write like a little more. And then normally my process is I'll write a premise of something like say I want to write about, wearing just a hoodie. Then why is that funny? And then we'll just go down the list and there's about 3 or 4 pages and then we'll figure out line by line. Okay, why is that funny? Oh, well, I can go here, and then we can connect this with that. And then sometimes you don't even get anything. It's just like, this is just bad. And then days later you're like, oh, let me go back to this and I'll do it. But me, because like Eric, like I read a lot, like on a daily basis, I read probably about 30, maybe 30 pages, I'd say, conservatively. So
Yeah.
like, and I 2 languages, so like it's
We
a
also
lot.
research the different
Yeah,
words.
and
too.
I research like different words. So like if there's
Yeah.
a word that I don't understand, I'll research the definition. Is it a noun, a verb, an adjective, and then stuff like that. But like comedy, just that part of comedy at least is fun to me. It's
One of the things I feel like I've noticed a lot, some of the best comics are truly smart. Like you're saying, they know so much about everything. You've got to be able to put those things together. What about, I've heard a lot about punching up when it comes to poking at other people. A comedian should never punch up down when you're kind of making fun of people, but not really. Do you abide by that concept? That's like not even in your.
Oh, I can tell you've never come to see us do comedy. Then I
You
can tell
totally
that
have a different. Okay.
yeah, you
Yeah.
have not.
And I know everybody does. It's just one
So
angle I
listen,
have heard.
I'll answer that question. Here's the thing: you have to come down on a Thursday to Corner Pocket Comedy on Billiards and come see us. That's the exchange, right? Now, here's the thing: when it comes to punching down, me personally, if I'm writing jokes about my wife, I don't punch down, right?
She's taller.
She's taller than that. And I can't reach. My reach isn't there. Secondly, that's my wife. So at the end of the day, the way that I treat, and this is just me, right? Like I don't do that to my wife because I like my wife. My wife's pretty awesome. But at the same time, there are jokes that I'm going to have, right? Now, when it comes to someone else, like I'll point out the obvious. I'll point out something that's right there on my face. Like we had a gentleman that showed up to a show in was it Dorothy with the ponytails and stuff?
Yeah.
In like a Dorothy skirt with nothing under it. You have to address that.
He showed up.
Like you have to, yeah. That's what I'm saying. You get what I'm saying? She's laughing. See, she's laughing because she knows. Like you have to address that. Like at some point, there's gonna be certain things that I have to address. Someone being rude.
Like a heckler.
Like a heckler, that needs to be addressed because the problem that people don't understand with hecklers is that you're not really interrupting me because I'm going to say my punchlines and I'm going to make you feel like you hate yourself. The problem is you're taking away from the people who paid to come see us and to come have a good time. Because if what you have to say is more important than what I have to say, then why did you pay money to come? You could have just done that somewhere else. That's the problem. And a lot of times it's not, I don't attribute, I don't attribute malice to what you can attribute to stupidity. So a lot of times when people are doing that, it's just because they're drunk, or they might be inebriated or intoxicated in any way, shape or form, So it's like one of those things that it's like me personally, like I address it. But punching up and down, that just depends, man.
Depends.
Like it just depends. Like on my wife, I don't make like really derogatory jokes towards my wife. It's always just her, like in some way, like shitting on me or something. I try to keep it. That's just me personally.
I have an ex-wife, so I do the opposite.
And she was very short too. She was like 4'11". Like it was crazy. So he has to punch really down, really down.
Yeah.
So it gets weird.
He does.
What's your favorite part about being on stage?
The women, the power, the money,
Again, just like podcasting. Golly. You
all things
too.
that we do not have.
My mine is actually when I get to the mic. Because before I'm nervous,
Yeah.
but once I get on stage, I get the mic. It's like everything is as it should be. I might bomb, but at that particular moment, before I say anything, everything is just where it should be.
For me, it's just exciting. It's nice to make people laugh. Like out of
Yeah.
all the feelings that people have told me that I made them feel, laughing is probably the best one. Like that's just what it is for me. It's kind of nice. So that's literally what it is for me. I could care less. It's just I want to see people be happy.
So you
Especially
guys are
when
working. Do what now?
Especially when people like drove like far away and
Oh,
stuff, man.
sure.
Like,
Yeah.
that's, you know, it's kind of nice.
So what do you guys have coming ahead? You're still working on the podcast. You're still planning shows. What's coming up in the near future for you? And what do you have for the big picture?
In regards to what? In regards
Just
to the
everything that
podcast?
you're planning, your big dreams, your small dreams, your dreams within the next few weeks, months.
Women, power,
Power.
money. No. Honestly, for the podcast, the biggest thing would be to monetize more and to be able to personally, like, first of all, like pay Eric, because Eric drives a good way, you know, regularly. So to me, that would be the number one thing. So that way he's covered in that sense. The second thing would be to bring awareness to like a lot of people's stories. Because I think that people like individually, when you sit them down, even though they have their flaws, like they listen and they have cool stories. And I think like storytelling is like an art that podcasting brings it to a whole nother level. So that's one of the things that I'd like to see. But I'd like to see that eventually monetized, so that way we can cover that. I'd also personally, I think we've talked about this, is we'd like to get even cooler guests, because it's kind of nice to be able to talk to people that, you know, probably they wouldn't really give us the time of the day if we weren't trying to like promote something or like listen to their story and whatnot. But I think that eventually will solve itself and like start to bring some of those people here into town. Because I think that's the biggest thing, is like you have to have a platform that makes people feel welcome and that they want to hang out in order for people to come hang out.
Yeah.
And I think there's really bad rap that Missouri gets in general. I mean, I would say especially Springfield with all the things that happen and all the things that continue to happen in this town with drugs and corruption and all this other stuff. But I think that there's a lot of good too. And I think that gets overshadowed.
Springfield's much better than Washington, D.C. So
yeah,
a lot less corruption. I mean, it's still about the same amount of drug use, but a lot less corruption. So.
Don't know about that, but I will say, we have talked about this before on your podcast, that there's a lot of talent here, even not just Missouri, but Springfield, Missouri. We got a lot of talent here, and it's time we are heard. You know, I think so many people for a long time have felt kind of trapped because we're stuck in the middle of the country. And now with technology and podcasting, we can have a wider reach, and we can cast that net and reach out there and connect more.
The airport's a huge thing too. Like when you look at flights and stuff like that, one of the things is that you see that flights for the airport are dropping and there's more flights being added. So that also is going to help like promote shows and promote other things. The problem is a lot of times that a lot of people don't want to put in the work. People really don't want things. Like they don't.
But Springfield is a home of Bass Pro, so why wouldn't you?
That's the thing. The Cardinals, you have the Cardinals here, you have Bass Pro, you have us,
Brown Derby.
Yeah.
So why wouldn't you be here?
The Caves. Does the Caves start here?
In Branch.
Yeah.
In Branch. Never mind. You got
Branson. Wait a minute. Too. Is Brown Derby like? Is that local? Is that not a national chain?
I think
Or
it
is
is, but
that just your, is that just where
No,
I
you
think it
go on a
started
regular?
here. I think it started
Actually,
here.
that's how, that is how, Bass Pro got started because I think it was his uncle let him put a little fishing spot in Brown Derby. And he started selling chinook fish in
Oh,
Brown Derby.
I did
Actually,
not
it
know
started
that.
in LA, and then it expanded over here.
So I don't know
Over
if it's a
time.
national chain or not.
It is. No, it
I
is.
see.
It's a
It
national.
is?
Yeah, right
Okay.
here, Brown Derby.
Huh.
Right.
Cool.
Malvern, New York-based restaurants, and then they turn into alcohol. Oh, wow. All right then.
Yeah.
Alcohol.
Which it's recession proof. So.
It's recession-proof for now.
So that's why I said Brown Derby, because if it wasn't for Brown Derby, they wouldn't be a Bass Pro.
Plus, this is home to the cashew chicken.
The
The Chinese-
Springfield cashew chicken. Yes.
Springfield
chicken.
cashew
My bad.
chicken.
My bad.
That's
my
right.
bad.
That's right. I
But
hear
no,
ya.
there's a lot of things, man. And like, you have to understand also, like, when you look at a town, you have to look at the demographics of the town. And
Mhm.
if you don't understand your customer base, then a lot of times people waste their time.
Mhm.
Over 30% of the people that are here are retirees and military.
Mhm.
Like, that's just what it is. That's gonna tell you right there where that economy is gonna push to. And then you have, I think it's like
Well, we
less
got the
than
colleges here. We got
the
like 4
colleges is
colleges
like-
here,
yeah.
I think.
the colleges. It brings in like almost 30, and then you have a lot of veterans, here that work for like Bass Pro and stuff like that. And you have like retirees,
Yeah.
like you know, it's, and then you have like hospitals and stuff like that, which brings in a ton.
Yeah.
So like,
And the meth labs, which keeps the hospitals in business.
yes, the meth labs keeps the hospitals in business, and allows
Since you're
everybody-
both veterans, do you practice your jokes on vets? Do you go and do shows for them?
Oh,
Actually, it's funny you say that. We actually have been trying to set something up to do like a little tour all over Missouri with Legion of what's it called?
The American
Legion
American Legion,
and
Veteran of Foreign Wars.
Veteran Foreign Wars and the USO and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But it's just it's one of those things that now that we have a platform that's big enough, like we can do that. Because before, I think
Yeah.
you'd gone that they asked you.
Yeah, I actually, the USO, there's like, you want to do a USO tour? They had all on their website, and I was like, yeah, I'll do one. And you have to send in all the paperwork. They want it mailed to them. They don't do emails or electronics. They want it in hard copies.
You know, the Army.
Pigeon carrier. Here you go.
So I put it on there, gave it to a runner. It took a month to get there, and
By then, COVID started.
then COVID started. No, but no, I hadn't heard from him for a month or two. So I called him. I said, "Did you get my package? Was there a problem with it and everything else?" And the first thing the lady said was, "Are you famous?"
According to who? My mom thinks I'm great.
Have
I
you
said,
met my mother?
I thought I was until I talked to you.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
Seriously,
Yeah.
she point blank asked you if you were famous.
Yeah, because they like
Right.
they like want to have people that the soldiers
Yeah.
are gonna come. Listen, the soldiers and the Marines and
they
the-
don't.
and
It's a
the-
captive audience.
yeah,
They,
it's a captive
they're gonna
audience.
show up
They don't
because
want
they
to go
have
anywhere
to.
else. Yeah, they have to show up. Like, it's not like they
I mean-
buy tickets. No,
I mean,
the
it's-
commander says you will go see a show
Yeah.
tonight, and you're gonna fucking laugh. And the soldiers go, "Yeah, no problem. 100%, I'm gonna do
It's
that."
great when Rob Williams shows up,
Yeah.
but if Dave Hinkle shows up, you're still going to watch.
You're still gonna watch.
It
It.
My
doesn't
goodness.
it doesn't matter who it is.
Yeah, and that's a
Oh
true
my
story.
goodness.
By the way, that's.
Okay.
I remember this comedy show like in the Army. They were like, "Hey, this person's coming. I have no idea who it is. It doesn't matter. Here's tickets. Go appreciate that he's coming here." I'm like, "How about he appreciates us?"
Yeah, I had to come here too. Damn it.
Yeah, and I didn't want to come here. Like, yeah, but no, it's definitely a thing. Veteran crowds can get rowdy because
Yeah.
Oh,
they feel so brave, like they can still fight when they can't.
Yeah.
So they like get a little chatty, but that normally you address that in the beginning. You know, if
Yeah.
you have a good host, address that in the beginning, and
Yeah.
like it's not gonna be an issue.
normally it's not too bad, but every once in a while you get somebody who starts feeling their oats and they're like gets ready to charge the
They're
hill.
like, I was in Vietnam, and it's like, we get it. Go sit back on your wheelchair. I don't know how you stood up and walked. It's a miracle,
Oh, so
It's
cool.
easier
Punch
now
it down. Punch it down.
It's easier now that they have recreational weed, so
but-
They're all kind of calm.
like,
Nice.
They sprinkle it in their oatmeal, you think? Is that how it goes
yeah,
down?
yeah, You will feel better. Eat this, eat this piece of chocolate. No,
You'll be all right.
it'll be
You'll be all right.
Okay, before we go, I want to know something from each of you. Tell me something nobody knows in the podcasting world or in your lives. Keep it PG that you can share with the audience, please.
I'll let you go first.
I don't. I was going to say it really is 7 inches, but I don't know if everybody knows that.
No, Jesus.
We're not talking about your toenails that you have not clipped in who knows when,
It's
ever.
so bad. He's
It's
hitting me
easier-
with them right now, like under
Gross.
the table.
It's easier to
Rose.
rock climb with that
It's
much.
easier to
shoe.
rock
Oh,
climb.
he's a rock climber.
I don't really like going out.
Okay.
Most people think that I'm a very outgoing person. I don't. I like staying at my home, editing videos, hanging out with my friends, hanging out with my kid more than anything, and with my wife.
Mhm.
I really don't like going out. Like, to get me out of the house, it's a chore. It's a chore, and most people don't realize. They
So
think that
do
I'm-
you feel like you use a lot of energy when you do go out and then you just have to kind
No,
of,
it's not that. It's just I hate everybody equally.
doesn't.
oh, okay.
I just enjoy being with people that I know. I'm kidding about that part, or am I? No, I just enjoy spending time with my kid, man. Like, it's just such a cool experience. And like before that, I just didn't really enjoy going out. Like, if I want to watch something, I have it. If I want to cook something, I can get it. Like, I have what I want and what I need. So it's like I don't see
He's
the
a homebody.
sense. Yeah, I'm a
Yeah.
homebody. It's not
He-
that I get
He makes a really
energy.
good wife. I tell
Yeah,
you.
I'm a great wife, bro.
He
Like,
does.
I just fed him.
He did.
Aw, very sweet. Well, I see a bright future for you two, and I hope you'll come back and talk to me again
Thank you.
sometime.
You
you
can come
so
to the
much.
wedding reception at.
Yes,
We haven't set a
register, be
date.
sure you register.
We haven't said a date.
Registered at Bass Pro.
Probably Bass
Bass
Pro.
Pro and Brown
By the
Derby.
way, it'll be at
We
Bass
will
Pro.
only take Bass Pro gift cards as a gift.
Okay,
We're
done.
registered there. So.
We're registered there, so.
All right. Thank you so much for spending some time tolerating me, even though you don't maybe like me. I appreciate your time very much. So
Thank you for having us. Appreciate it.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
see you again soon.
All righty.
Bye.